What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes you fight.
Hi, I'm Allison, and today we are here with Dorothy Pincus. How are you?
Hi, Allison. So good seeing you.
So good to see you.
You look great.
You look great.
Thank you.
So, tell us, who is Dorothy Pincus? Many roles.
Oh, yeah, I wear many hats. What I want people to know about me? Okay, I'm a singer, songwriter, an author. I have a book out called How to Date Yourself and Fall in Love. It's about how I met my husband. I'm a mom.
3 little girls.
3 little girls.
3 little angels.
Yes. Oh, they're my heart. And I'm just a very positive person. I just take life and as it comes, and just 5 lives, dealing with 5 lives every day, and I never sleep.
No mom sleep. And you embrace life, and I love it.
I embrace life to the fullest. I'm just happy a lot. I'm just really happy with my life right now.
What involvement with cancer awareness do you have? Like, what is the level? And how, actually, let's start from the beginning. How did it start?
Well, do you know Mindy Sterling?
No.
She's an actress. She's on, oh my God, what's that show? It's a Disney show. Ant Farm.
Oh yeah, Ant
She's
Farm.
the principal.
Oh, okay.
Her and I did some work together, and she remembered me, and she thought that I was an amazing person, and we just clicked.
Right.
So I guess about 6 months later, she said, she emailed me on Facebook. No, she Facebooked me in a private message, and she goes, "Before you say fuck off, just hear me out." Right?
There goes the show.
She goes, "Before you tell me to F off,
yeah,
just hear me out." She goes, "A year ago, she worked for a
Leukemia and Lymphoma Society." That's hard to say.
No,
What are they
Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Which is a group that does what?
They're in charge of collecting money, funds to try to come up with new treatments and things like that to cure cancer. And they generally focus on kids in this particular situation.
Right.
And she said that she was nominated, and it's about maybe 13 candidates, male and female, and they basically have 2 kids that are, I guess, the poster kid.
Right.
And they raised a lot of money, and she won that year, 2011, and basically for 2012 she recommended that I be Woman of the Year based on a lot of things that I do in the community. Right. And
so she won based on how much money she raised.
Right. She won based on how much money she raised. Right.
Wow. So that's quite an honor for her to ask you and to nominate you.
And to nominate me. Right. Yeah. In my mind, I was going F off, but there was something that was nudging at me saying, "You should do it. You should do it." Right. And I was like, I talked to Eric about it. My husband is Eric. I talked to him about it, and I said, you know, I really want to do this. Right. And the juices started flowing. I told her yes. I sat down with her, and she basically kind of walked me through everything, and 2 other women from LLS. Right. And they kind of told me what was going to happen, and we had basically 3 months to raise a certain amount of money, and you can basically, you know, do your goal. But $50,000, you get a chance to honor someone who you know that has cancer or died from cancer. Okay. And since my niece had passed away from cancer at 13, I wanted to nominate her. So I set my mark for, I think it was $65,000 to raise.
In 3 months?
In 3 months, yeah.
$65,000 to raise in 3 months.
Right. And she said, you know, if you don't meet your target, don't worry about it. I thought about doing a song. I had did this song called "You Are So Beautiful."
Right, which is amazing.
Right, with my friend. I did a remake of it. Right. And I called in a producer friend of mine.
Yeah.
Who we went in the studio and we cut it and we actually put a kids choir in the middle of it.
Wow.
And we sold those. We sold that on Facebook and Twitters and.
That's amazing. What? How much were they? How much were you selling for?
It was for $5.99, and
that is so great.
And basically, I would say Eric. My husband was amazing with this.
Aww.
He really, he was kind of like my right-hand person. And he went out and he targeted, a lot of his fan base. He does basketball.
He writes for the LA
Times.
Yeah.
And we sold a lot of the songs.
That is so wonderful.
At the end of the year, between 13, I think it was 12 candidates, we raised $700,000.
Together?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Right when I started the campaign,
right,
in March, we was supposed to start in March. Actually, March, April, and May.
Right.
They asked me in December.
Okay.
March 25th, I was at a party on that Friday. I just talked to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a phone call the next day, like maybe about 6 in the morning. And my mom had collapsed and they didn't know why.
Right.
And they said they had rushed her to the hospital.
Right.
Then I get another frantic phone call saying that my mom was diagnosed with leukemia, acute leukemia, and she has a week to live. So I flew out and we was with her and I had just talked to her.
Yeah.
So I talked to her that Friday and now I'm looking at her on that Saturday and she was a total different person. She went from doing Tybo to bedridden. She couldn't move.
Yeah.
And I did not understand that. It didn't make sense to me. But what made sense to me was now I know why I'm doing this campaign.
Wow. Yeah.
And I couldn't say no to it. They were very helpful. They put me in contact with a lot of people in New Jersey and New York to help my mom, and put me into the right hospitals.
Right.
And she went into remission.
Oh, she did?
She did. She eventually went into remission.
Mm-hmm.
I would say around May. So I came home and...
so she's in New York?
She's in New Jersey,
oh,
right,
New Jersey. Okay.
right. She was in New Jersey. And so she went into remission around May. So this was March. So she went through like this really excruciating chemo. I mean, for her, they were like, she's probably not going to make it out of this. But she did, with the grace of God and just a lot of love from me and my sister. And, I feel really bad for my sister because she lives out there. And, she had to take care of most of the responsibility.
Right.
But the cancer people, like, really, LLS helped us a lot.
Wow.
Because I was, obviously doing this campaign. It was a very powerful moment,
Wow. This is just so... It's,
it's surreal.
Grace of God, like that whole...
Yeah.
It was like supposed to happen like that. I mean, what are the chances?
I know, I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills.
Yeah. See, it's so many, even though having cancer, going through cancer, loving someone who's got it, there's always something great about it. Like you saying this, it's like God was protecting you, preparing you, helping you. So now you have this wealth of knowledge and you have this group of people who are there to support you. And that's huge.
It was so, it was like really, like, it probably would have been a different, circumstance if, a different story if, I didn't have, LLS to help,
It would be different, very different. Because it's it's isolating because it's just so, it's so traumatic. And even for me, like having a group, like a group of friends and family to support me every day. I've said this before, text messages, emails, phone calls, even if I didn't answer them, because sometimes I just couldn't, wouldn't, I just
to know that, that you had,
there are people cheering
for you.
Yeah.
And that's, well, in the midst of all of that, you know, the family dynamic kicked in. And one thing about kids, no matter how old you get, you tend to regress back to when you were little. You know, mama is down. So we became kids again, and we were, you know, obviously there was a lot of, you know, high emotions, and we didn't get along. You know, a lot of us didn't get along, and we don't have that close relationship, and so there was a lot of blaming this person, that person. And one thing about this, she was a week before she was diagnosed. No, a month before she was diagnosed, she had had her yearly checkup. And there was nothing.
It's fine.
So the cancer just activated in her body. It was nothing that she did. It was just...
No, it never is. You don't give yourself cancer.
Right. You know, it just activated in her body, and she thought it was like a cold, you know, or something. And
not like exactly how I did. It's not that big of a deal.
Right. It wasn't a big of
Yeah.
Because she's such a strong woman, and, you know, she's, like I said, she does Taibo. Yeah. And so it kind of came a war of, like, you know, my brothers were who we didn't see for a long, you know, we don't have that close connect. My sister and I are closer, and we were kind of at war with them about power of attorney, about all this stuff. So it was a lot of ugliness that came out as well, and I took it as a sign of me healing on just a high level. You know, I had asked to that I wanted healing for my family. Yeah. I didn't know it was going to come in this way, you know. And
you asked for them to all come together. So
before my mom was diagnosed, I wished that, you know, because my husband family, they're so close, and I'm very close with them, and they invited me, they welcomed me with open arms into their family. And you know, you want to have that for your own family. Absolutely. And so I prayed about that, and I was like, you know, I really want my family to come together, you know, and this was an opportunity for that to happen. Right. It didn't quite happen the way I wanted, you know, thought it would. Right. There was a lot of ugliness, but in the end, my sister and I bonded really well, and we were able to get power of attorney. My mom, you know, income and estate, basically. And get her well together, and, you know, back home, and she had to go to rehab and that whole thing, and just relearn everything over again. And then, you know, me flying back and forth. That's hard. And being a musician, it was very hard, because, you know, people were like, well, look, I understand your situation, but we have deadlines. Yeah. And you have to sing. You have to be in the studio. You have to, you know, my kids. And you have 3 little kids. Right. You know, 9, 7, and 5. And they were like, where's mommy? Yeah. You know, so I was very open with them, and I explained to them, and you know, they would call me and they said, "Mommy, we're praying for Grandma Margaret, and but we want you home," and things like that. Especially my 5-year-old, you know, she couldn't sleep, and it was just really hard on my husband. And we had his father come down to try to help. Right. But the community, you know, they really helped a lot. They came out, and Eric's family helped, and you know, when at the same time I'm going through this campaign, right, trying to raise all this money, and just tons of strangers and friends was like, oh, my aunt just passed away from cancer, or my sister, or this person, that person. They was just outpouring of money. They was just, it was like giving it away. They, you know, they couldn't, it was not enough, and they were very sympathetic about, you know, what was going on with my mom, and my church, you know, they helped, and it was just. Is that agape? Agape, yes. It was just a lot of love and just a lot of support. And I'm just really thankful and grateful that I have a network of friends and community and relatives that, you know, reached out and helped. And so the campaign was finally over.
You reached your goals.
Money. And then my mom, for about 3 months, she was fine. And then she got cancer again. It came back, more aggressive than the first. Leukemia, yes. And she went into remission again. And she went into rehab. And she came back out. She came out
Twice
again.
now.
It was twice. So she told my sister and I, if it comes back again,
she doesn't want to do it.
I don't want to do it anymore. No. She was tired.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. So it came back again. And right around during the holiday time, and my sister said, well, you know, I think you better come out here again. And so I started preparing myself to come out. And this is right around the time that we were trying to close on a house. And they needed documents and documents and documents on closing the house. And so I would talk to my mom every day, and I would, you know, let her know that I'm closing on a house. I'm getting out. I'm going to come out there. And at some point, she went into remission again. And so I know, it's incredible. And so I was going to surprise her and come out there and stay with her for a week to get herself together and everything. So it was Thursday we talked.
Right.
This was in December. So Thursday we talked. And I didn't want her to know I was coming out there because it was supposed to be a surprise.
Right.
So Sunday she was supposed to go home. And I was going to meet her. I was going to knock on her door and go, surprise! You know, it's me. And so my sister and I had planned it and everything.
Right.
So Thursday I talked to her. She said, oh, I had a good workout. I got showered. I dressed myself. And, oh, I can't wait to go home. On Sunday, she was so excited. Friday, the next day, she had a stroke. So my sister was like, Mom had a stroke. So instead of coming out next Sunday, I came out on I took the Friday red eye, and I arrived like 6 in the morning on that Saturday.
Right.
And I stayed with her in the hospital, and so that was Friday, that was Saturday, Sunday, Monday we watched the inauguration of Obama being sworn in. She had a crush on him. So that was awesome.
Kind of cute.
Yeah. So my sister and I, we hung out with her, and I showed her like video clippings of the girls, you know, saying get better, you know, that whole thing. And we just kind of bonded. And she saw me and my sister really bond and connect, and that was something she always wished, that we had a great relationship. And at some point, you know, because of the stroke, she was slurring her words.
Right.
And she said she wanted to go home. And I knew what that meant.
Yeah.
I said, I know it's not a home, but you want to go. And she said she wants to meet her Jesus. That's her thing. You know, that was her thing. And I told her that it's okay. I gave her permission. I said, it's okay. You don't have to stay. You know, I don't want you to be in any pain anymore. And so that was Monday night. My sister went home at 1 o'clock in the morning. And they wanted to put her in ICU. And we said, no, we don't want any more wires or anything. We just want, she doesn't want to do this anymore. Yeah. And, you know, the thing about hospitals is that they're going to push to save a life. That's their thing. They want to save a life. Tuesday morning, the doctor came in, and this was like a holiday weekend, so the doctor wasn't there over the weekend. But she came in, and I requested a hospice, you know, at the hospital, and they were lining that up, you know, for her to be transferred there, right? Which was upstairs in the hospital. This was at Beth Israel Hospital in Newark, and I asked her. I said, "Is she dying?" And she said, "Yes." So the leukemia came back, and yeah, she's going to go. I said, "How long does she have?" She said, "Probably the end of the day." Wow. And so I got on the phone. I called my sister. She lives in Pennsylvania. And I said, you know, Mom's going to they said Mom's going to go today, and we got to call our relatives. So we went on the phone trying to call our relatives and things like that.
Right.
And around 9:33 a.m., I put on a song that I sang to her on. I put on you. There's a song that is called "Bridge Over Troubled Water" that I did at Agape, and she always liked that, and I dedicated that song to her.
Right.
So I put that on in the background, and I asked for a priest to come down, or a minister to come down.
Right.
And they did the Lord's Prayer, and she never made it up to the hospice, So, and then I quoted. There's a book called Moi. It's basically it's a Bible. It's like the 33 chapters that are missing from the Bible.
Okay.
And that's a book that I kind of carry around with me in these type of situations. And I referred to that a lot.
Right.
And so I read from there. I anointed her head, and I kissed her a lot. I kissed her over and over and over again. And I told her how much I love her. But I didn't want her to be in pain anymore. And so they had the heart monitor. And when I looked at the heart monitor, the numbers were going down. And she was breathing. And each time the numbers were going down, I told her to take a deep breath. And we just, together, numbers started going down. So it was kind of like a 3D effect. I would look at the heart monitor. I would tell her to take a breath, and we would breathe together. I would look at the monitor. It was going down and down, and it was like 58, and then it was like 40, and then down and down. And at the last breath, when it was about to be 0, I said, "Mom, take another breath." And we breathed out together, and she flatlined it. And I cried. And it was just her and I. It was just me and her. And and I sang the Lord's Prayer to her in the hospital. And the nurses came in and they said, is there anybody who wants to call? And I said, I called everybody, but they're not here. I don't know why they're not here yet. And I was in a lot of pain in my stomach, and it turned out that a cyst had erupted in my stomach.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know this. I didn't know what was going on. I just know that I was really weak. And I thought, obviously thought because of my mom.
Oh my gosh.
And so they were like, we need to put you in the hospital, or, we want to check on you. And I was like, no, I don't want, first of all, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
But I have to be with my mom.
Right.
And they said, well, you can wait for family members. I waited there for about an hour, and no one came. So I called my sister, and I said, and my mom waited a lot when she was alive. I don't want her to wait anymore.
Right.
What's done is done. I want to take her down to the morgue. So they asked me to be excused, and I said, no, I'm not leaving my mom's body. So I helped them wrap the body.
Oh.
While my song was going on in the back, A Bridge Over Troubled Water. And and I wrapped her and I kissed her, on her head, and they took her down to the morgue. And they put her, into the morgue, and I said, the doctors said, well, once you do that, come back upstairs. And I said, okay, but I was, at that point, I didn't trust anybody. I just felt like I was inside my mom's womb at that point. I was just,
right.
And I knew I was in a lot of pain, and I knew something was wrong.
Right.
And the only thing I could think about is getting on the plane and going home to be with my family and to be with people that loved me, because I just felt like, my sister, I knew why she wasn't there, because she was in Pennsylvania.
Right.
So I was numb. I didn't know how to get back to the Newark airport. I don't know how I got there.
You're in shock too, right?
Yeah, I'm in complete shock.
You're just kind of in a daze.
In a daze. I haven't eaten anything. You know, the food there is a lot different from California foods, and so I didn't really have a good, you know, choices of food there. The last thing I ate was White Castles, which I hadn't eaten in 20 years. Like, you know what I mean?
I've never been. I mean, I've seen the movie.
So I thought that's probably why my stomach was hurting, right? But so I ended up going and to the car rental, and he was like, "Well, you didn't fill the gas up, and you didn't do this, you didn't do that." And I looked at this guy, and I just said, I just
let everything
out on him. I was like, "My mom just died." And he was just like, "I'm in pain. I don't know." He's like,
don't worry about it.
He's like, don't worry. He's like, you know, I flew on American Airlines, and he pointed me in the right direction. He goes, don't worry about the gas. It's on us.
That's great.
You know, and
that's
so
great. That's really
I get there.
Random acts of kindness, right?
Yeah, yes. So I get on it. I get there, and I'm trying to board the plane, and you know, obviously you got to go through security and the whole thing. And the lady looked at me, and she's like, you know, I need your ID. And I looked up, and she goes, you know, honey, just go ahead. Like, she was like, whatever's going on with her, I don't want to mess with her. So she's like, go ahead, you know.
Wow.
And, you know, obviously I had to take off my shoes and stuff, but she was just like,
she could feel it.
Something. And so I went into the bathroom, and I'm just like, you know, bent over, and I was like, if I fall out here, they're gonna take me back to Beth Israel, so I can't let anybody see that I'm in bad shape.
But you were getting on a plane.
Well,
did that not occur to you? You're gonna be like in the air. You're not gonna have like medical assistance up there.
No, that does not. No, I wanted to get home. Only thing I could think of is go home, right?
Wow.
So at some point, and I, when I went to get the ticket, because I was supposed to leave like, I don't know, like that Thursday and that Friday, you know, and this was Tuesday, so I had to get a different ticket.
Okay.
You know? And so when I went up to the guy, he just looked at me, and he was like, I said, do you have anything available? And he was like, let me check. And he looked at me, and I was like, he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. My mom just died. I want to go home. That's only, you know, I just want to go home. And so he hooked me up. He put me on the plane. He was like,
great.
Don't worry about it. He goes, but it's not going to be for another 2 hours. So I ended up eating something, and that helped a little bit.
Right.
And then I fell asleep for an hour. Next thing I know, they were saying, okay, you know, it's time. LAX is, you know, the boarding the plane or whatever. I got on, and I came home, and my husband was there to pick me up, and I just fell into his arms. It was just unbelievable. It was just surreal. Like I was just numb for the whole time, and you know, I was supposed to fly back out for the memorial, but that was my memorial with my mom. Right. You know, for me, and I didn't want to be around the people that was there, because to me they wasn't the family members. To me they wasn't there the way I wanted them to show up.
Right. Just to show up.
Yeah, you know, so I just felt like, you know, God made it so that it was me and my mom.
Yeah.
You know, I took her last breath.
Yeah.
We took it together.
Yeah, you took it together.
We took it together. And
wow.
It was just very powerful. And, you know, it's the weird, and this is so eerie, is that my niece, I was there for her last breath as well. My sister went down to the car to get something, and her and I, me and Kendall, my niece, was the same thing, where I went through this whole process of telling her to breathe and let go and the whole thing. And she was born on my birthday, she passed on Eric's birthday. And
Is that leukemia?
she looked just like me. She looked just like me. So, you know, then we had another friend that just recently passed away.
Colon cancer?
Colon cancer,
Yeah.
Sally. And what was interesting about that situation is that the day she passed away, you know, I emailed her husband just to say I'm sorry for your loss. And he told us to come over. And when we came over, she was still there in the house.
Yeah.
And I ended up singing the Lord's Prayer for her.
Yeah.
And afterwards they put her on a gurney and sent her away. There's been a lot of mysterious things happen with me spiritually,
right.
you know, in my life. There was a situation where I was on tour with Barry Manilow. And,
I love Barry.
I love him too.
I love Barry Manilow.
I had to learn like 130 something songs in 6 weeks, and the choreographing of his show.
Okay.
So we fly over to Australia, and everybody was sick.
Okay.
With bronchitis and that whole thing, and I was just so it was my turn to get sick. And this is going to be my first show with him in Brisbane, Australia, and I have no voice, and I have to do 6 duets with him.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So I'm sitting there. I'm standing there, and I have no voice. And he says, "Well, if she doesn't have a voice, she's got to go home."
Right.
And so I said, "I didn't do all this work and come all the way over to Australia just to go home." So I did what my mom taught me: pray.
Right.
I went into the bathroom and I prayed and I said, "God, I know you put me on this gig for a reason.
Yeah.
I've come too far for you to leave me. I need help."
Yes.
So we did our rehearsal, and then we were about to go to we had to go to the hotel to get dressed and that whole thing. We had a couple of hours before the show.
Okay.
And he said, you know, if she's not able to sing, she has to go.
Oh, well, yeah,
You know,
he
right.
needs somebody to sing with. Right.
So I'm on the bus, and this woman comes over and sits next to me. And she said, "You sent for me." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" This is no lie. This is like, it's the weirdest thing ever. But she said, "You sent for me." And I said, I don't know. I don't understand. She goes, "When you prayed," she goes, "I'm here to help you." And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go with this. What do I have to lose, right?
Exactly.
She said, I'm going to meet you in your hotel room. And she goes, I'll tell you what to do. I said, okay. She said, "Give me your number to the hotel room." So I gave her the number to the hotel room. She came up to, obviously she was part of the crew, but she said she was an Indian. She was part Indian, and she knew a lot of, I don't know, remedies or
yeah.
medicines or
Okay.
healing. She's a healer.
Right.
And I was like, okay, why not?
Right.
I mean,
Of course.
you know, I've tried everything else.
Like you said, what have you got to lose?
Right. So we get up to my hotel room. She comes over and she lays me on the bed. And she, I don't know, she did this thing like this. She was like warming up her hands and this healing energy. And she laid her hands on my chest. And it was like fire.
Wow.
And she did like this chant kind of thing. And when she lifted her hand, it was like you could feel like a plate coming out. And she said, "Don't talk for the rest of the night until it's showtime." And I said, okay. And she left. Like she left. And I laid there and I'm ready. And like, so I got up for showtime. I didn't talk to anybody.
Okay.
So I'm on the show. it's time for me to walk down these long stairs on Could It Be Magic, and this is like this high power song. It was like a disco version of it, and he says, "Die," like that, because that's what they call me, for short for Dorothy. They, "Die," and I come down the stairs. I'm like, "Oh God, I hope I can sing." I opened my voice, and my voice was completely restored. I am not kidding, and I did not get hoarse for the rest of the tour. This is the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the